The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get
He missed the complete that. He's crazy
As I said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through, he tags Richard Eck.
From one high-speed track to another, after the thrilling battles witnessed at Monza, one has to wonder what Le Mans holds in store for our vintage race fans today. Longer straights, closer walls, and trickier braking zones are sure to catch out a few big names and may affect the championship down the line. Who will celebrate in the land of the tricolor? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Crackers Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Le Mans was used toward the end of last season, and they've returned early this time, but without a couple important parts to it.
Joe, welcome to Circuit de la Sarthe, home of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Yes, you know, this is one of the largest circuits in the world, and you know, up to 85% of the lap here is spent full throttle around these 33 turns, 8.47 miles, 13.63 on the metric scale kilometer. We're going to do 10 laps here today. It's going to be wicked fun. I can't wait to watch this race and call it for you. Let's take a ride around in the GSRC Lotus 49 for a trip around Le Mans.
All right, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Le Mans. On the front stretch, you'll get a fair bit of momentum going, which means the Dunlop curve won't be flat out. Especially with the 49's lack of grip, you gotta try your best to tuck the car over to the right side of the track, which means you might get surprised by drivers sending a sneak attack up the inside into the Dunlop chicane. The tough thing for them will be getting the car both turned in and gunned off the corner quickly. You might be able to get them back accelerating under the Dunlop bridge. But the Chapel Rundown is also not able to be taken flat out, so watch your line. In the Forest S's, it's important to try to keep the car tight to the apex. And then, coming off the right-hander, be careful with the gas as there's a big crest ready to send the car looping. Then it's a short squirt on the power before one of the most important corners of the track. The exit of Tertre Rouge can make or break your lap time. Being confident with your right foot will be critical. The very tricky Mulsanne corner will catch many drivers out with its kinked braking zone. It'll certainly be a balancing act. Not just the car itself, but how much time you can gain braking deeper versus being planted for a good run off the corner. Because once again, we've got a long stretch where every bit of speed counts. Now, in most cars, golf corner and no-name corner mean nothing, but with the 49 bouncing its way along with almost no downforce, they become very tricky. You've got to straighten them out as much as possible and try to avoid going through too wide. Then you've got to set up for Indianapolis, which once again provides an incredible challenge with its kinked entry. Make sure you're able to hold to the right so that you can take as much advantage as possible from the banking on the left-hander. From there, you'll need to switch sides quickly for the best line into Arnage. This is one of the slowest corners on the track, and the wall to the outside provides little room for error as you accelerate. From out of there, the run to the Porsche curves is similar to the run up to Indianapolis. The kinks would be no problem in other vehicles, but in the 49, they're pretty hairy. Especially braking for the Porsche corner. If you stay flat out, the car likes to jump out from under you. As you woe it up, the important thing here is to set up for each subsequent corner. The bridge curves are probably the most dangerous with that big blue wall ready to punish the greedy. Into the karting S's, things really begin to slow down even more. At this point, it's extremely important to stay tucked to the inside because you can get a slowdown penalty for going wide at the left-hander. Once again, Maison Blanche is no problem for modern cars, but requires a lift in the Lotus. Then comes the Ford chicane, in which the first left-right is surprisingly rapid. Just try not to get greedy because you need the car to be stable to slow up for the second half. The curbs are much taller here, but you can get pretty aggressive with them. Just make sure you can get to the power smoothly for the front stretch. And as you cross the line, you've now finished a lap around Le Mans. And that's a lap around the long Le Mans circuit. But we haven't been in this championship for long for this season, only 2 rounds down, so let's take a look at the points. They kind of look interesting at the moment, with a few ties along the way. You can see a tie for first between Billy Bob Wright and Benjamin Zocco, win each for them. And then Ove Tranqueray being the lone driver jumping up to third after a good second-place finish last round to get him back on track. And then Jack Olstead is in fifth with three other drivers tied. Or, excuse me, yes, in fifth, three other drivers. Oh, no, excuse me. Jack Olstead is tied for third with Ove Trangarade, and then we have three drivers tied for fifth. Even confusing me up here in the booth with how many drivers we have tied up for points there. And, of course, they do have a Constructors' Championship, and they're doing it like they did in 1967 in this series, with the countries earning points for their highest finisher within the country. United States leads the way this time, with Mick Claridge not coming in for either of the rounds so far. 13 points for the United States. Australia has jumped up into second, just 4 points behind. They have a good chance to get in this thing. Norway, led by Ove Trangarade, up into third. And then France bumping down a few positions, although I'm sure Michel Dudognan is going to try to do his best at his home track here to see if he can get back in this. He's tied there with Finland. So we call this the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge. Sean, now, why don't we tell our viewers who haven't watched one of these races yet why exactly we call it that?
Well, Rick Emerson is a gentleman, a friend to many here, been a huge fan his whole life of auto racing. He's battling ALS, Joe, has been for over 4 years now, and he is a close personal friend of the promoters of the series. And they are raising money for the ALS Association for awareness and help to find a cure in honor of Rick. And, you know, Rick's still battling. We put a link in the YouTube description and give everybody how to get there. You know, if you got $1, $10, $100, whatever you can do. ALS is a crippling disease that we've not found a cure for yet. And let's get some support out there for Rick Emerson and all those affected by that. We are racing for Rick here in the Lotus 49 at Circuit de la Sarthe today.
I look forward to seeing what we can do through the length of this season. We have a few drivers even doing various promotions, such as meeting a certain amount of dollars for every point that they make in the championship. And donating that amount of money at the end of the season. So lots of cool stuff going on to try to raise funds to help beat this horrible disease. Now, let's go over the race details to familiarize our viewers once again who haven't seen this series before. We are in round 3 of 12, and of course celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Lotus 49. They are in open setups, and just like in the original car, they are not stopping for fuel over the course of this race. Over 10 laps, in fact. This track is so long, only 10 to be done in this roughly half-hour race. Actually, just over a half an hour, I should say. Maybe closer to 45 minutes. They do have an incident cap, with this being official racing. If they hit 17 incidents, they are disqualified right then and there, and they get no free repairs. They have no spare cars. If they get damaged, they have to deal with it for the rest of the race. Mentioned the points a little bit earlier. 1967 rules on that, which means 9 points for first, all the way down to 1 point for sixth place. And let's take a look at the weather today, see what they're dealing with. 90 degrees, air temperature 116 on the track, Sean.
Ouch.
It's going to be a little bit slippery, I guess.
Well, you know, I was just in this practice session leading up to this race. Had been in that for the last hour and a half or so, and darn it if it wasn't about 89 degrees on track. Now it's 114. A lot of the guys were over there as well. This has thrown everybody for a loop. I'm sure grip is going to be premium the first time they head down to the Mulsanne corner.
They're finishing up qualifying right now, and it's going to be a little bit close to see who can finish their second lap. We have a number of drivers who haven't managed to get their first lap in. And as we've just got about 45 seconds left to go, Michael Thomas has currently got it on the unofficial pole, and he actually isn't running a lap, so he's not going to be able to put in a second one if anybody gets him. Benjamin Zoko is very close to finishing his lap, and he's currently in second in qualifying. Coming through the Ford chicane, he should be able to make it across the line as long as he didn't get an incident throughout the lap to nullify it. Let's see what he gets as he comes across. He gets overtaken by Casper de Kort, actually, for that second spot. Benjamin does not improve enough to get himself into first. Mick Claridge is here today. He's just improved himself and bumped himself up to fourth as well. And as the clock ticks down, that's going to be it for all qualifying. which means it is time for the tricolor as the cars are getting ready to grid up. We should see the jets overhead in just a moment. Waiting for them to show up before we get to the grid so we don't get drowned out by their noise. And I'm not seeing them, so we might have to start... Oh, there they go. All right. There's the famous tricolor Air Force for the French as they scream across the screen. Just past that Michelin sign. Beautiful sight on this sunny day here in Le Mans, France. So with that, let's go through the grid with Michael Thomas on the pole, Casper DeCourt on the outside of row 1, Benjamin Zocco starting in 3rd with Mick Claridge in 4th. Billy Bob Wright starts this one in 5th, followed by Jack Ulstead in 6th, AJ Bear in 7th, Brett Rial in 8th, and in 9th we have Michael Langford. Top 10 rounded out by Michael Morrison.
I'll take the second half of the field. It's going to start with Philip Blake and Igor Stadnik, Michael Dugnan, Ove Trengarade, Hideki Koivitso, Eduardo Martinez there in 16th, Jerry Lee Sweetland in 17th, Craig Spitzer 18th, Brendan Cook 19th, Don Good in 20th, Ivan Joyjo and Kai Troster. Going to round out your 22 cars in this field. Joe, let's do it, baby.
All right, looking forward to this. As you can see, the cars gridding up, waiting for everybody to get to their spot before we get the lights up. And then we go racing for 10 laps around Le Mans. These cars did race at this track, but not this version of this track. They ran the brand new Bugatti circuit at the time. As the lights come up now, engines start revving as they wait for them to go out. Green flag is out, and Michael Thomas, with not the greatest of starts, Casper DeCourt gains a little bit off the line, but starts to lose ground now. Must have been a slightly different gearing in that first gear. Michael swinging into the normal racing line as they start to get single file. Going to be tricky down into the Michelin chicane, or excuse me, the Dunlop chicane. Almost went 3 wide a little bit back there. Oh, we've got one car way off course, having to cut the course, and that is going to hurt. And it looks like that is Brendan Cook, maybe?
Yeah, it is, Joe. He got all the way off, cut it, and slowed down. Now he's slotted back into 16th.
Michael Morrison and Igor Stadnik got into each other just a little bit in the back of Brett Rial coming out of the Forest S's, and Brett is having to pull off to the side. Did he get a cut course as well? Trying to give things back. Almost 3 wide coming out of the Tetra Rouge bend. Still getting it sorted out. Look at that, 3 wide once again. Philip Blake involved in that, or Michel Dugnan actually, I should say, as they start to get into the draft of the long Mulsanne straight.
Boy, Brett Reale had to let them all go by. Joe drops all the way to 18th, and he is really off pace now. Lost the toe.
Thomas all by himself up in first, but he is being reeled in very quickly by Casper DeCourt. Coming up in a second, he's going to look to the inside. They're going to have to get themselves sorted out by the Mulsanne kink, which is extremely hairy in these cars. Casper DeCourt to the lead, but it switches once again before they even get to the kink, as it's Mick Claridge back from his break up to the lead. As they head through the kink, everybody looking to get through there, going way off for Michael Thomas, our pole sitter, barely keeps it out of the Armco.
Oh!
Oh, Trengrade. Big crash back there. Multiple cars coming into it.
Oh, yeah, it was through the kink, Joe. Just got off 2 wide to the left. Gonna see it here. He gets in the grass, comes across the track. They take evasive measures, and it just wipes out several cars there.
That could have been a lot worse. It looks like only 3 or 4 maybe got into it.
Yeah, Kai Troster, Philip Lake involved in that, Michael Langford.
Oh, unfortunate to see. Thankfully, with this being only virtual, not as destructive as it could have been. Wow, things are still hairy going up to the Indianapolis kink and into the left-hander. Everybody manages to get through that one. Billy Bob Wright still trying to hold off the car of Michael Thomas, who's trying to come back from that pole, already being slotted down into 4th. And Ove's already gotten onto the chat apologizing to the group, and you know, I don't blame him on that one, Sean. That is extremely marginal through
Joe,
that kink.
I talked about having trouble getting through that kink myself, and that was the problem I kept fighting, is not knowing when to really turn in there. Oh boy, Igor Statnik and Brendan Cook going side by side at the beginning of the Porsche curves. It's Cook that runs all the way out, has to give up a lot of ground there to Statnik to let him by.
Both of them managing to sort it out by the time they get the bridge. Almost like a street course with that big blue wall on the right side, but now they come through Maison Blanche. It requires a lift in this car. Usually flat out everything else you drive it in. As they come to complete their first lap of 10. And how about Mick Claridge coming back with aplomb? Leads the way. That's Benjamin Zocco. He's got himself into second. Billy Bob Wright in third, and Michael Thomas in fourth. I'm wondering if Mick Claridge has put any of the penalty weight on his car. Remember, the drivers were talking about putting extra fuel in if they were a little bit fast and try and even things out, make it a little bit more competitive up at the top. Mick said that he was going to try it, but he's looking very feisty right now.
Yeah, he certainly is. He got a clean break to start this race, and right now, complete. The car looks pretty dialed in. You do have to wonder, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of speed he turns here down the Mulsanne straight right now. If he gets that up somewheres around, I think maybe about 210, 211, I'm thinking maybe he has taken that, because with lighter and fuel in the car, you can get up around 212, 214 even, as high as speed as I've seen.
Well, he might not even be reeled in on the draft by these cars behind, because wow, look at the fight for second place. Zocco, Wright, Thomas, DeCourt, all together. And Billy Bob Wright holding that inside. Could we get it 3 wide going here as we got Casper DeCourt all the way up to the front there. Thomas kind of hanging back, probably going to back out of it, seeing what's going on. DeCourt has moved himself into second. Wright still holding on to third at least. Zocco holding off Thomas. Thomas does back out by the time they hit the kink. All single file through there. And they are reeling in Mick Claridge.
Oh, it's incredible. DeCourt was doing 217. He's reeled him in now. Got to get on the brakes hard.
Everybody making themselves aware of how much they have to brake with that extra speed coming down to Mulsanne corner. Oh, and Billy Bob Wright pulling off to the right. Did he get a slowdown? No, looks like he just got loose, getting to the power. Grabbed it back together as Michael Thomas once again getting a good run off that bend. Overtakes Benjamin Zocco.
Wow. 217 on the Mulsanne. I mean, just amazing.
That is flying. Meanwhile, DeCourt passed Claridge for the lead. And that was coming up to the kink. That's brave stuff. Same thing with Michael Thomas managing to get past Billy Bob Wright. Still trying to fight as Mick Claridge looking around the outside of DeCourt. He went defensive down into Arnage. Can he get the run off the corner? Not quite. Thompson having some connection problems back there. That's not going to be good for these guys who are going to have to be racing close quarters. And Billy Bob Wright even gets on the radio saying, here we go again. DeCourt looking on Claridge. Or Claridge looking on DeCourt, rather, going around the outside into the Porsche curves. Now they come up to bridge. It can't go too wide into here. He's going to try, but DeCourt finally gives it up. Now into karting as the track slows down once again. Your order: Claridge, DeCourt, Thomas, Wright, Zocco for your top 5. DeCourt having trouble coming through the left-hander of karting. That allows Thomas to get up behind him. Single file through Maison Blanche. Now they come up to the forward chicane, but Thomas not brave enough to try to send it up the inside.
Claridge getting through clean there, making it look a little effortless, but man, Casper DeCourt hot on his tail, Joe.
And Claridge had it easy last time coming down the Mulsanne because those guys had to catch up to him. Now he's going to be in the thick of this battling down that straight. Down into the Dunlop chicane as they crest the hill under the bridge, that famous bridge down through the chapel rundown. No change in order as they start the lap, although Billy Bob Wright dropped off a little bit. He should be able to regain that from what we saw that they ran down Mick Claridge last lap. Looks like, it seems like about within 2 seconds there, Sean, that they can catch anybody ahead of them.
Yeah, listen, the draft on the Mulsanne is unlike really any vehicle I've been in here, this Lotus 49, I don't know what it is about the hole it punches in the air, but the car behind really, really picks up a lot of speed, as much as 3 to 4 miles an hour in that draft.
Well, you can see Casper DeCourt moving to the lead. Everybody else behind still single file before they start to jockey for position. Thomas starting to catch up. Mick Claridge, despite losing the lead, gets back into the draft and is now getting it back over DeCourt as they go side by side up to the kink. What's going to happen up here? Are they going to try and take it too wide? Still Thomas blinking behind them. DeCourt lifting just that little bit to try and get out of it so they don't get into a hairy situation. Thomas stays behind. Is he going to try and threaten down into the braking of the Mulsanne corner? That kinked entry, oh so tricky. Thomas moves to the inside to try to overtake, but only for second. Not going to try and overtake Claridge. He sticks his nose in just a little bit. Claridge not as good on the brakes. He's going to have to go around the outside, but he gets the run off the corner. Did not expect him to be able to close in like that in the second half of the braking. And he gets the run off the bend. Down through the kinks up to Indianapolis. Move Thomas up to the lead now.
Joe, pretty
Whoa,
good.
Billy Bob Wright.
Nah.
Trying to hold on to it. I think he's going to get a cut course for that.
I think you're right. Let's look at that on the replay.
Casper DeCourt almost gets into him as we go to replay. Look, and Billy Bob Wright gets on the radio saying he did not expect him to break that early. He had to take evasive action. You're going to see here as Casper tries to come back at him, almost gets back into him once again as he goes a little bit wide. And unfortunately, I think he got a slowdown for hitting that cone, as they're not allowed to go that far wide.
Boy, our leader, though, really under attack. Claridge got Thomas all over him here. Joe, they're getting through the Porsche curves.
I think this is the way it's going to be all race long, unless we see a big mistake up in the leaders and they get a huge break. And one of our major championship contenders, if we could step back for just a moment, Michel Dudagnon, sitting in 8th, and he's got 3 seconds up to AJ Bear. I don't think he's got a hope to catch him at the moment unless he's got the pace.
Yeah, well, you know, the pace not quite there. The cars in front of him a little bit faster, but listen, Joe, anybody can make a mistake up there. There's still a lot of time left here. Dudagnon's just got to be patient and continue to hit his marks right now. The battle behind him has been pretty good, actually. We've got a good fight there. Hideki Koivitso just got around Eduardo Martinez. Brendan Cook in that battle. Cook must have just made some sort of a mistake there because he was leading that battle. And I'm thinking maybe he had to slip up.
Yeah.
Or a slowdown, yeah.
Because he was pulled off to the left and letting everyone through. I saw him tumbling down the order into 13th. He's 2 seconds clear of 14th, Craig Spitzer. So with him only a second behind Martinez, he should be able to regain that with a decent launch coming out of Tertre Rouge. Actually, he's already caught up to Martinez as they come over the hill. Meanwhile, back up to our leaders, you can see Claridge leading the way. That's going to change down the straight, most likely. Billy Bob Wright getting on the radio saying, let's go get him. He's playing the slingshot game, letting them through. They somehow got 2 seconds behind our leader, and all that back and forth that Billy Bob Wright and Casper DeCourt had coming through Indianapolis and Arnage. They've already run it down to about 1.5 seconds. They are reeling them in at a rate of knots.
Yikes.
They come.
Oh boy, Billy Bob moves across the track, does that right in front of Jack Olstad. Olstad now there the inside of the kink.
Wow, and they managed to go side by side through and live to tell the tale.
Olstad got a couple tires in the grass there.
DeCourt threatening on the Zocco threatening on the inside of DeCourt. Down into Mulsanne corner. DeCourt way wide, manages to keep it out of the gravel, but give that position to Zocco up into 3rd, and they've now got to within 0.5 second of Thomas, who's dropped back actually of Claridge about 1.5. That's interesting. Wonder where he lost that. I can tell you from experience, Sean, racing Billy Bob Wright, the only time he ever made a move that kind of left me a little miffed, but I understood afterwards, is we were coming up to that Mulsanne kink. Whoa, big moment there for Thomas, trying to get to the braking down into Indianapolis. That lost him more time as Zoko looks around the outside of Arnage, but some defense isn't going to help him do that. A little over-under does, however, with great grip for Zoko, slipping into that second place. But as I was about to say, Sean, we were coming up to the kink. I was going to look into the inside of Billy Bob Wright, and he actually came over and balked me so that I would have to lift and brake. And at the time, I was pretty angry, but then he told me afterwards I didn't want to go too wide through that kink, and you can understand why after watching what we've seen today. Whoa! And was that a slap into the wall for Thomas? Did he make contact? Oh, he is dropping back. I'd say that's a big yes.
Ouch.
My goodness. There goes Billy Bob right. Oh, side through Maison Blanche is not going to work, and Billy Bob has to lift to get out of it.
Yeah, and I don't think Thomas is handling very well there. The car looks really off-center right now. I got through there okay.
He didn't come in. He's struggling to try and keep it going. AJ Bear is coming in. Did he hit something? I'm going to go back and take a look to see if he made contact somewhere. Usually if you are, that bridge corner is the place where it tends to happen, but he didn't touch it at bridge. It must have been somewhere else.
Oh yeah, he hit it. I'm looking for it now, but the car was crabbing and he managed to make it quite a distance actually.
So it had to have been early in the lap. He's come in for repairs. Remember, we said no spare cars in this thing as we jump back up to our leaders, who have started to lose touch with Mick Claridge. Zoko, 3 seconds behind Mick. He's with Casper DeCourt. They could play the leapfrog game to try and run him down. We've seen that can help you. On board Casper's nose. He slips to the inside. Zoko, is he going to get into the slipstream to get back by? He ducks back in. There we see from the gearbox. And the draft lets him back through. Boy, we have ones, and I mentioned they're both high-speed tracks. There's just nothing that compares to this place, Sean.
No, there really isn't, Joe. Joe, I'm gonna make a guess here. I think AJ Bear might have started this race on qualifying fuel. I'm gonna take a guess because I don't see any damage on the car. I went back. I didn't see him hit anything, Joe.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. We got 6 laps to go. 4 laps of fuel sounds about right, even though he can only make 2 in qualifying. Oh, and what happened to Thomas once again?
Yeah, looks like he might have missed his braking zone heading down to the Mulsanne corner. Came in hot, Joe.
Replay. He was braking very early, probably with a damaged car, and he dipped over into the grass.
Ooh, that's what it was.
You're going to see on the replay here, yeah, ooh, hard into the Armco, and that is really going to do him in as he took a tow. Sad to see our pole sitter in that Ferrari paint scheme, we should clarify. Not going to have it today. Michel Dudignon still in a battle with Michael Morrison, still running that Violet Egypt scheme. Love that pink number 6 out there.
Yeah, Dudignon just passed Morrison, Igor Stadnik, and you know what? Business is picking up for Michael Dudignon. He's now up 7 spots, sits there in 6th, Joe.
Nicely done by the Frenchman. And if you're wondering why we've got a pink scheme, Brennan Cook with an off, and this is in Indianapolis on the entry to the kink, not a place you usually have it. Oh, he got ran into from behind by Eduardo Martinez. You're going to see on the replay, boom, just punted. And do both cars take a tow? Cook gets going again. Martinez off into the gravel.
Yeah,
he took a tow.
Cook took a tow too there, Joe.
No, Martinez is still going. Martinez did not take a tow, but he's going extremely slow, and he's been overtaken by AJ Bear. So as I was saying from Morrison, if you're wondering why he has a pink car, that actually has historical significance. Cars back in '67 were running the official national colors of either the driver, constructor. It was up to your choice. Well, there was a driver from Egypt who, in one race back in France, I believe, I want to say it was in Reims, who ran the Egyptian colors, which is violet. And then all spurred from a joke we made in the booth that he found that out and painted his car like that.
Yeah, it's a good story. I do like that one. It's one of those unique ones that stands out. Cool looking car. I actually like that shade of violet.
I'm glad that he said he was going to do it as a one-off, but as soon as we started talking about it and talking about how much we loved it, he said, well, might as well run it for the rest of the season. So good on you, Morrison. Billy Bob Wright still holding down fourth. He's about a second back from Benjamin Zocco off that podium. They haven't ran down Mick Claridge. Still 2.7 seconds behind our leader. Britt was the man to beat last season. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Zocco picking up Casper de Court here on the Mulsanne. He takes that spot away, and guess what? Here comes de Court looking back, going to take it back from him just before they get to the kink.
The time is running down on our timing and scoring. Number is about 2.7 down to 2.3. If they can keep working together, they could potentially get Mick Claridge.
Here come Olstad and Wright. Billy Bob just behind them, pulling them in. Now they got to get on the brakes.
And 5 cars will punch a much bigger hole in the air than just 2. That could mean catching him a little bit quicker. They cut off about 6/10 down that straight. They've got another long one where they could potentially try to reel him in here. To the outside, that's Zocco trying to overtake Olstad. Oh, and here comes Billy Bob Wright screaming up the inside. He's going to be side by side into the kink with Benjamin Zocco. He's going to have the outside coming around Indianapolis. And he's off into the kitty litter. That's going to give up the spot to Zocco.
I was about to say, I can't get through there by myself. I don't want to do that with 2 cars. Come on, man.
These guys are being incredibly brave. These cars are very marginal, I'm sure you can attest to, Sean, on any sort of curved braking zone.
Yeah, very marginal. You want that car, you want the wheels facing in one direction when you get down to braking. Very, very tough car to handle under braking.
As we ride on board with 4th place Zocco into the Porsche curves, up through a bridge. Got to bring that thing right out. He leaves plenty of room over to the blue wall. And this is where Claridge could potentially regain the ground, but he is not. It started at 2.1 coming into these S's. Coming out, it is still at 2.0, so we actually lost a 10th through here. That makes me think that he does have just a little bit of penalty weight.
Yeah, maybe next time we can get the drivers to check in with us, or maybe on the forums, let everybody know who's going to be going with the weight and who's not. But or maybe it's better to create a little bit of drama, Joe. I don't know.
Leave us guessing in the booth. It's never fun for us, but certainly makes it more exciting for the viewers not knowing. That's bumped back up to 2.2 over Casper de Court. Seems like Mick is a little bit stronger in the first part of this lap. One thing I love, Sean, that they do with these penalty weights is they try to paint the cars like the old classic schemes, like we saw Trangerade in that Honda scheme that we had. Billy Bob Wright, I don't think Billy Bob Wright has any penalty weight, but he's running that Eagle Westlake. And I want to say Michel Dudignon, is he running a BRM? Mick Claridge, excuse me, in the BRM.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure what Dudignon has on his scheme. Looking at the camera angles there, we've jumped over to Ulstead, running the classic Lotus with the British paint. They come to Mulsanne once again. Ulstead and Zocco going at it. Zocco overtakes him. Ulstead's going to come back around the outside. And this time they are not gaining As Casper DeCourt has separated himself from Ulstead and Zoko, he has no partner to work with, so they are not going to gain ground on Mick Claridge.
Not this time, and they are running out of it. Next time around, we'll only have 3 laps to go. And they are not pulling Casper right here at all, Joe. Now they're starting to, but it's a little bit too late now as they head down into the corner.
I was just about to check to see if they had any sort of damage, but it looks like they don't. Smoking the tires up, getting to that apex for Jack Ulstead, but he does tuck it into the curb nice and clean. But it looks like Casper DeCourt is the one that has just that little bit of damage on the nose. So he's the one that I would expect they'd be reeling in. DeCourt blinking a little bit, having trouble. And Jack Ulstead getting on the radio, asking to run down Mick Claridge. Interesting note, actually, he called him on the radio One-Armed Willie. That's because Mick Claridge is actually racing injured. One of his shoulders, I believe, injured right now, Sean. And so he's trying to race this thing with one hand.
Yeah, I think that's enough of a handicap. Actually, forget the weight.
You say that, but he's leading.
I really can't imagine driving this track with one hand.
Oh,
Maybe that's why he is up front and away from everybody, because he doesn't want to do any side-by-side racing with one arm.
That Brit is something else, just incredible speed. We mentioned he was the man to beat, just trounced away with the championship last season here in the Lotus 49 series. As we watch our second, third, and fourth battle now having closed up. It's going to be best of the rest unless we see a mistake from Mick Claridge, it looks like. Although these guys could work together now. 4 laps to go. We're halfway through. Down to complete one more lap through the forward chicane. One thing I do like about these Lotus 49s through that last bit is, I don't know about you, Sean, but it felt like I could get really aggressive with those curves in these cars.
Yeah, you can, but that being said, slow in, fast off in the Lotus 79, and so if slow in means you're getting on the curbs and hopefully you're getting a little grip off.
Absolutely, the 49 likes to keep them planted without that aerodynamic downforce to keep you on the track. It's all about mechanical grip in this car. We've jumped back to 7th with Igor and it looks like Michael Morrison battling it out. Igor's actually got a pink car of his own, it looks like.
Yes, a pink and kind of a, I don't know, aqua color there. Kind of looks like maybe from South Florida.
Nice. Is he from South Florida? No, he's from Central Eastern Europe.
Yeah, no, quite a bit away from Southern Florida there.
It's looking, it actually, I'm wondering if that's Dexter Castro's doing on that car, but probably be a little bit more detailed if it was Dexter had painted that machine. Meanwhile, battle once again as the draft brings them side by side. Ulstead and Zoko. Californian versus Australia. And they're going to get by Casper DeCourt as Ulstead swings on by. There we right on board with Zoko, who's just going to hang back. I'm listening to the radio.
Yeah, the radio is great. Billy Bob just feels so lonely out there on track right now, and Michael Morrison's like, hey, you could just back up to us, and he's like, nah, there's 2 laps left. I don't think so.
From onboard Zoko, we got a good view of Ulstead getting all kinds of sideways, sliding into the Mulsanne corner, but that number 10 machine managed to navigate it safely. He's going to get another run on DeCourt, heading up towards Indianapolis. Through the no-name kink, and then golf course.
Brakes.
Braking very early down into the Indianapolis kink. Then into the left-hander. Got to get it down to the apex, which DeCourt absolutely does not. Straining to get to the power off the corner. Ulstead can't capitalize as they hit Arnage. Once again, got to be light on that right foot as the drivers try to accelerate up towards the Porsche curves.
What a great job by DeCourt there, getting around Arnage. Got a nice breakaway there.
good recovery there from the driver from the Benelux Club. As they hit the Porsche curves now, up through bridge. Everybody managing to safely navigate that blue wall, not hitting it.
To court, four-wheel drift through there.
He seems to, he's looking a little Mick Claridge there, likes that loose car, it seems.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to gain much ground. They've cut it down to 1.8, Sean.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is where they go after him here.
If
Two laps left across the line. Do you go after him on this lap, or do you wait till the last?
Well, I think now's the time to try and make it happen. They're within 2 seconds. They could just be within that cusp of the draft to try and reel him in. Down. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm sorry. I'm still amazed that Mick's doing this with one arm. When was the last time he tried to play his kit with one arm? That's what I'm curious about now.
Yeah. Tell us about that's something that you discovered last time that I didn't even know. I knew that he was a drummer, but apparently a relatively famous jazz drummer.
Yeah, he's been around. Mick's cut a few albums and been in a couple of really popular jazz kind of fusion bands. But Mick's one hell of a drummer, man. I'm just gonna be frank. He can definitely slam the kit.
Mick, you've been holding out on us. You never told us you were famous, buddy. Besides iRacing.
Yeah, pretty famous in this realm as well. He's one bad dude, and he's almost 2.5 seconds now. Casper's really got to get busy. He needs some help too.
It was 2 seconds at the start of the lap, now up to 2.3, and they're not gaining on him. Oh, we got a 3 wide with Igor.
Yeah,
that was That was with Michael Morrison and Michel Dudagnon. And they thought about it up to the kink. Igor looking to the inside in the kink before a big lift. Unfortunately, that's going to put him side by side with Morrison. Morrison with a huge run. Looks to the inside. He's going to be able to overtake Michel Dudagnon before they hit the kink and they get through single file.
This is great.
Michel swings right back to the inside. This is for that 6th position under braking. Not very confident, though, as they come down to Mulsanne corner. And it looks like Morrison's going to lead the way. Michel Dudagnon in 7th. And then behind them, Igor in 8th. Getting that run off the corner. Look to the inside. Once again goes the Frenchman. Heading down towards Indianapolis. Under braking, this time it's Dudagnon who's much more confident. Swings it in, takes it to the middle of the track to fend off Morrison, and they're through there cleanly. Not much change with our leaders. Claridge still leading by about 2.5 to Court is in 2nd, Ulstead 3rd, and Zoko 4th.
Okay, and those 3, DeCourt, Ulstead, Zoko, they have now gotten together here, Joe. They're going to have one last chance, one more lap to make a run at Mick Claridge, 2.5 seconds up in front of him.
Do or die time. We should mention as we watch this, we don't have to jump back to it, but that 6th place battle is important, Sean. That's the final point spot.
It is, yes, and I'm really glad you mentioned that because this is perfect. This is the perfect scenario. Battling for that final point spot. I mean, what an opportunity here for these drivers. Dudagnon has got to try for one more lap to hold off Michael Morrison and Igor Stadnik, who both had really solid drives today.
And especially with Dudagnon not having the best of starts to this season, he's got to get his name on the board because Claridge certainly looks like he's going to be, as the white flag is now out, leading the way. He's going to take maximum points after missing the first 2 rounds.
Boy, and they are just not reeling Claridge in. They did not get a good enough run there through Ford or Dunlop, and I got to tell you, Joe, it's going to be tough now. Here we go. One last trip down the straight, setting up now.
Can they make it happen? 2.5 seconds back. It's going to be a tall ask. They're really going to have to work together, but DeCourt is a full second ahead of Ulstad. It's almost a full second ahead of Zoko as well. They might be too spread out to really make this any sort of advantageous run with that draft.
Yep. You're absolutely right. They honestly, out of Dunlop and then all the way through Tetra Rouge, they just got spread out. There goes Holstead now.
To the inside of DeCourt. He's going to have a lot of speed, so it's going to gain him a little bit of time on Claridge, and that number comes down a tenth, 2/10. Reeling him in. But he stalls out. Now it's Casper DeCourt's turn to try and pull him in, see if they can do anything. Down to 2.2 seconds as DeCourt looks to the inside. Are they even working together? Are they just battling for that second spot at this point and have given up hope on McClarridge? We don't know. Whoa, and DeCourt sliding way off the apex through Mulsanne corner. Jack Olstead gets it tucked nice in but isn't able to capitalize. Benjamin Zoko following up in fourth at the moment. I don't think it's enough. They are not going to be able to run down McClarridge unless he makes a big mistake.
I'm going to keep an eye on this battle for 6, Joe. You stay up front. Dudignon still leading Morrison and Igor Stadnik.
So we watch the battle for second. It's DeCourt still holding on to that P2. Zoko has gotten past Olstead into the final podium position. They now come to Arnage. Olstead looks to the inside. He sticks his nose in. It's very close. He's given room by Zoko. The Australian manages to fend him off, though. Now they scream down through the kinks up to the Porsche curves. DeCourt looking very clear of these two. This could be his second place from here on out unless we get a good run through these S's as Zoko tries to close in. Claridge still leading the way. At about 2 seconds, they have not been able to gain much ground on him. It is indeed too little, too late to catch the Brit.
Morrison overtook Dudignon.
Through Maison Blanche, McClarridge goes, coming up to the Ford chicane. Just has to brake nice and cleanly. The faster first chicane, woeing it up more for the slower second chicane. McClarridge is going to come out just about 2 seconds ahead and take his first win of the season. Casper DeCourt is going to take second, and Benjamin Zoko, Benjamin Zoko, excuse me, my timing and scoring went crazy. He gets third place. And Michel Dudignon with a cut course that's going to cost him the spot.
Joe, I'll have to talk about that battle. It's going to wind up being Michael Morrison that gets that 6th spot. Igor Stadnik 7th, and Dudignon will have to settle for 8th.
Great battling here. We see Hideki Koivisto fighting for a top 10 position. And did Igor Stadnik disappear? Oh no, I think Igor Stadnik lost connection at the end. Oh no, he finished, excuse me. Hideki's going to take 9th. AJ Bear. What a recovery drive for Bear. Getting himself into the top 10 after having to take a pit, Sean.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was all just about, grit right there. Just staying in it. Again, I suspect it might, he makes the end of this race. I don't think it was damage. I did not see him go off the course or hit anything. It had to have been fuel, Joe.
Some grit, maybe some Aussie grit from AJ Bear as we
absolutely
watch Ivan Jojo in 12th. Go ahead.
Okay, so Michael Morrison overtakes Michel Dudignon all the way back in Indianapolis, okay? And then they continue to battle through the end of the course, out of Arnage, all the way to the Porsche S curves. Dudignon gets it back, Morrison gets it back, and then Dudignon overshoots, trying to overtake Morrison, overshoots it down there in the Ford chicane, Joe, and what a finish that was back there for the 6th spot. Michael Morrison getting it, and Stadnik just missing out on it.
Really wish we could have covered it more, but we had to stay on the lead for the finish. With that said, we are going to take a quick break here at Le Mans. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen we're going to have all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. A full field here today at Le Mans for the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge with the Lotus 49s. And boy, veins full of adrenaline as well, because just so much side-by-side racing at over 200 miles an hour down the Mulsanne. In the end, Mick Claridge returns with a win, certainly making himself back a force for the championship once again. He's going to have to overcome some missed races. Casper de Kort managed to get himself onto the podium with a second place. Same thing with Benjamin Zocco, finishing in third. He had to fend off Jack Ulstead on that final lap. Ulstead in fourth, just off that podium. Billy Bob Wright slipped back 12 seconds off the leader in the end. He finishes within the top five. And how about Michael Morrison? All the way down to the end. Couldn't tell who was going to get it, but a little bit of luck and a lot of hard fighting managed to get the Egyptian car up into sixth position. Igor Stadnik just behind him in seventh, off that point standing, and Michel Dudignon with a mistake at the very end cost him positions down into eighth. Hideki Koivisto didn't get points this time, still finished within the top 10 with a ninth. AJ Bear had to fight back after an issue. We're not sure what happened, but we suspect potentially race or qualifying fuel put him back down into that 10th spot. Craig Spitzer coming home in 11th, and Ivan Jojo in 12th there, Sean.
All right, and the rest of these cars all finished off that lead lap. It's going to be Jerry Lee Sweetland in 13th, Michael Thomas 14th, Brendan Cook 15th today, Eduardo Martinez 16th, Brett Reale 17th, Kai Troster 18th, Don Good 19th, Ove Trengerade, big trouble there to start the race. Philip Lake, Michael Langford going to round out the 22 cars in this Racing for Rick challenge here at Le Mans today. Joe, what a blast.
Up first, we're going to talk to our winner, Mick Claridge, who returns with a great win today, an impressive win considering how the draft really were pulling people back in and over fist. Mick, I have to imagine once you saw that gap go up to about 3 seconds, that must have been a relief.
Hi, Joe. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah. There was a lap where I saw Michael Thomas behind me a couple of seconds, and I don't know if you noticed, but I was blipping the mic. I was trying to give him, trying to get him to catch up with me so we could get away, but he seemed to drop back on the straight, and I think he was trying to get everyone else back up to the front, and then he made a mistake in Indianapolis. And once he done that, I thought, right, okay, I've just got to keep a 2 second gap, and then they won't get me on the toe. So yeah, it's good race. I should have run a bit more fuel.
We were talking a little bit about that, wondering how much penalty you had given yourself. Speaking of penalty, which arm is it that you're racing without? We understand you're racing on injury.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago I tried to tighten up the oil filter on my car, and I tore the tendon in my right elbow. It goes to my bicep, so I just can't use it at all. So yeah, I've got a pretty weird setup. My clutch pedal is for upshifts, and I'm using the left paddle for downshifts, and just one hand in it. Yeah, but it's to be honest with you, I mean, guys are saying, "Oh, I can't believe you're doing it." It's not that hard once you get used to it. It took me about a day or two to get used to it. The only trouble is when if I lose the rear big time, then it's just impossible to catch. I can't catch it at all. So I'm just driving really, really carefully as I can go, But yeah, I ran 18 gallons, and I know Michelle and Uwe. I think Michelle ran 28, and I think Uwe ran 26. So I should have run a little bit more because we want to get some other guys up the front.
That's still quite the creative setup. I'm kind of just impressed on the cleverness of you sorting out the controls there. We'll have to put you in contact with Ryan Worley. He's another driver we've had on screen here on GSRC who drives with 1 foot and 1 hand. But you two will have to trade stories. Before we let you go, a little birdie told me that you're quite the jazz drummer.
Yeah. I've been playing drums a long time. Yeah. I'm into my jazz. Yeah.
All right, we'll have to talk to him a little bit.
He's being so modest. He knows he's famous. Yeah.
We'll keep you from having to talk too much about that. We'll let you go celebrate. Again, congratulations on the win here at Le Mans, Mick.
Thanks, guys. See you next weekend. Just wanted to say, great cause what we're doing this for. All my thoughts go out to Rick and everyone else. St. Illness is pretty close to my heart as well. So yeah.
Yes, great stuff. And again, if you're interested at all in donating to the ALS Foundation, we've got a link in the description right now down there. So you're welcome to go and take a break from our interviews if you need to go donate to that. Or you could just keep listening while you donate. Open it a different window. You don't have to take off. In the meantime, we do have Casper DeCourt, our second place driver, finisher today, talking to Sean Ambrose about that fight for that second spot all the way down to the end.
Casper, my first question is, how much fun was that battling with Zoko Olstad and Billy Bob right there for a while?
Oh, it was awesome fun. I mean, for the most part of the race, we were mainly focusing on trying to catch up to Mick, who was setting just an awesome pace out front without draft, and we were just unable to catch up to him. And I think the focus for us switched to battling for second only in the last lap or two. That's at least for me.
Yeah, and those last couple laps, I honestly thought with about 2 laps to go that you guys might have a chance to go catch Mick. What happened? Did it not just come together there? You guys, it seemed like through the Dunlop chicane up to Tetra Rouge, maybe you guys lost pace with each other just a bit, got a little too far spread out to make that happen.
Yeah, I think the guys behind me were just dropping back a little bit too much throughout the first sector to prevent the tow to work out to catch us back up to Mick. But even then, I mean, the pace Mick was setting, I don't think we would have caught him even with the draft. I mean, I was going as fast as possible, and even on the laps where the guys behind did catch up to me, and we were able to do sort of a roulette. We still were only making up maybe half a second each lap, which I don't think would have been enough.
Well, Casper, listen, man, thanks for bringing us some great entertainment today. Just one quick question before we let you go. Where are you from, buddy?
I am from the Netherlands.
Ah, another Netherlands driver. Okay, well, listen, thanks again for the great show. We will see you next week, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope to be there again. It was good fun.
All right, buddy. Have a great afternoon, and we will talk to you next time. That is Casper DeCourt, Joe, and boy, really, really fun watching him today. I think you've caught up with Ben Zoko.
Absolutely. I suspected he was Dutch with that DeCourt last name, but always good to know where each of our drivers are from just to help inform us past just the club sometimes. But Ben Zoko from Australia started in third, finished in third. That had to be the least straightforward third place you've ever had.
That's got to be one of the most exciting races I've ever had. That was really good fun. And I feel good to have the pace to be fighting with Casper and Billy Bob and Jack. Normally they're a bit faster than me, so it was good fun, and I felt I had good pace today and good qualifying and everything. It was a good all-round day for me at Le Mans.
Talk to us about that Mulsanne kink. We saw just a couple times drivers dare to go through too wide. But what was your approach? If you saw someone coming up, did you lift to try to let them through, or are you willing to try and grit it out to go through there side by side?
Yeah, it's a bit risky going through there side by side, but it's not too hard with the high caliber of drivers that were around me. I think it's better though to let them go through first, and then you'll get the draft, which then means you can get side by side with them into the hairpins. So that's the smarter strategy there.
That seems like a good choice to me. The good news for you beating Jack is that now that's going to, or excuse me, beating Billy Bob Wright, I should say, is I believe this should give you the championship lead in the points. Are you thinking about the championship, or are you taking it one race at a time?
It's a dream come true. I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts, because I'm not going to be up there for long.
Well, you never know with the way things go and the unpredictability of these races. Congratulations on a podium. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, GSRC.
As Ben Zoko, third place finisher, we're going to have one quick interview for a driver, the last in the points. So big one for Mikey Morrison. He is going to talk to Sean about his race.
Mike, that battle for 6 was about as intense as any battle we had on track. Tell us what it was like there on that last lap trying to hold off Igor Stadnik and Duden Jan, who makes a critical mistake there, trying to take it away from you.
Oh, yes. It sounds like you lost it. That's reassuring, because you don't always have the opportunity to go back. Yeah, that was really fun. The prelude to that last lap, I was a little bit concerned that Marcel would be able to break away from us, but I was able to keep him within a little bit over a second. And as soon as Marcel realized it's coming onto a Mulsanne straight, that if he kept the throttle down, he would have been in a less than ideal position to control where he was in the field going into Mulsanne corner. So he completely whips off, and then a bunch of weird things happen in Mulsanne, and I don't remember what happens. I end up getting in second after Mulsanne and use that opportunity to pass him into the run into Indianapolis corner. I take a position into Indianapolis, and then I realize it's like, wait, this is perfect, because Marcel is always breaking really early for a course of curves and taking a tight line to start out course of curves. Where I was doing the opposite. Where I was braking as late as I could and trying to carry as much speed as I can into course of curves. So what I did was I took a defensive line and went really conservative to take away what he was probably planning on doing, and just setting up every corner of a course of curves to pass me along the way. So after that was cleared away, I had to nail the last corner before Ford curves, and I didn't really set myself up very well because I was trying to control them. I was focusing too much on traction. So when I went to take a defensive line for Ford curves, I did it too early, and actually lost quite a bit of time. And at that point, Marcel sort of easily had me, but he was probably unsure about how much time I lost, if I even lost time at all, taking the defensive line, and completely outbraked himself and missed the chicane. So I kind of lucked out in the end, but tactically it was a position I wanted to be in.
Well, listen, Michael, thanks for stepping us through that. What an exciting finishing. Congratulations on getting those 6th place points. We're going to wrap things up today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's only 1 point, so it's not a pro.
It's a point indeed, though. Thank you again for joining us. And Joe, boy, what a fun. I told you during the break, I was just laughing and smiling through that whole race. It was just wicked fun.
I can see why. That was a good one back there, as well as up front for 2nd and 3rd. But as you said, we do have to close up. We want to thank again, we want to remind everybody to go donate to ALS. If you have any money to spare, go check the description here in the YouTube video for how to donate to them. That's Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge here. And so we're trying to do all we can to help raise money for ALS. And a big thank you to Jack Woolstead and Ben Zocco, who organized this league for the official race. Well, not league, but organized this broadcast for the official racing. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. The next race, we're going to go down south to Interlagos, to South America, Saturday, July 8th at 9:15 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.